Hello and welcome to another edition of the Gull-Mouth Action podcast, where we're joined by Sam Morton, who's at Devonshire Park this week for the Eastbourne tennis tournament, for the pre-Wimbledon Eastbourne tennis tournament. We'll come on to a bit of the tennis later, Sam, but I just wanted to speak to you first of all about Brighton and Hove Albion. Obviously, it's still the close season. The transfer window is very much up and running. And one player they've been linked with, Harvey Elliott, who's been doing very well for the England under 21s, and it was his 2 goals yesterday that helped Lee Carsley's Young Lions progress through to the final, where they'll play Germany this weekend. What have you made of Elliott's performances for the under 21s? And it looks as though he's going to leave Liverpool. He's been linked with a number of clubs. Is he a potential Brighton signing, do you think?
Yeah, no, hello, Derren. And yeah, I think it's a really interesting one for Brighton. And as you say, they've been linked with a £40 million move for England's under-21 star Harvey Elliott. He was obviously the hero as he fired them into the final of the European Championships.
Yeah.
And England will play Germany in Saturday's final of the under-21 Championships after they beat the Netherlands 2-1. And it was Elliott who scored an 86th minute winner after his opening goal was cancelled out. And I should mention as well, Brighton's James Beadle and Jack Hinchwood also starred, with Beadle performing well in goal, and Hinchwood was faultless at left back as well. But yes, it's a really interesting one for Brighton because Elliott, because obviously he's a versatile midfielder and he's keen to kickstart his career because quite clearly he's got so much talent, and to be able to do this on an international stage, obviously under 21 level, is really impressive. And it's obviously a really promising young team that England have got there, that lots of players will be looking to get into the first team for England, and Elliott will be one of those. And he's a quality player that deserves to be starting week in, week out, and it's probably hard to expect that at Liverpool. And injuries and a fierce competition for places at Anfield obviously limit the chances he can get. He just had 2 Premier League starts and 18 appearances this season. And it could be a typical Albion signing. He has experience at 22 years old, but still has plenty of time to improve, and could see his price increase after a few seasons at the Amex. So it's something Brighton always consider when paying large fees, is kind of that potential to improve as well. So yeah, I think there's definite interest there from Brighton, and it'll be interesting to see what happens. And it's a shame that I don't know. I think if Elliott will be fit for the final. I think he picked up a bit of an injury. He said he was in quite a bit of pain at the end of the game. So yeah, fingers crossed he'll be okay for the final.
He'll be okay. Yeah, I think it was in his celebration, wasn't it? Did he do a knee slide or something, and he injured himself while he was?
Yeah, he said really bizarre.
The pitch was quite dry, and he scored the goal, and then in the moment did a knee slide, and then injured his knee in doing it. So hopefully it's nothing too serious. But
yeah, it'd be really unfortunate if that is the reason why he's picked up.
That's the reason why. That's an unusual one. But yeah, hopefully he'll be in the final. But could you see him fitting into that Brighton squad? Because they've obviously, they've got a lot of players in that number 10 role, haven't they? Obviously, Jorginho Rutter. Brian Gruder can play there as well. Matt O'Reilly, if he stays. It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because he's quite versatile, so he can play in a number of positions. I think he would be a starter, wouldn't he? In that.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. Yeah, I mean, Brighton are obviously well stacked for attacking midfield options, aren't they? But I think he's certainly one that would make a difference. Obviously, their current transfer record is the 40 million they paid for Leeds United star at the time, Jorginho Rutter. And a move for Elliott, you would assume, would probably surpass that. With Liverpool probably demanding a hefty fee for a player of his ability. Rutter plays obviously the number 10 role for Brighton with Brian Gruder, Jan Cooper-Minter, and Solly March, all options as well. And obviously, the situation is quite fluid, isn't it? Obviously with Matoma, Pedro. Obviously, I know he's probably on his way out of the club, but Julio Enciso again, his future is uncertain. Evan Ferguson is struggling for kind of form, obviously at West Ham as well in his time there. So it'll be interesting to see what happens when obviously back at Brighton and what the plans are for him. Matt O'Reilly, I've seen being linked with a potential move after a difficult first season at Brighton.
Yeah,
so all sorts of different moving parts. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's going to be quite an interesting situation to watch, isn't it? Especially in terms of those who leave Brighton. You've obviously got Karamatoma's been linked, João Pedro's been linked, Matt O'Reilly as well. You've got Julio Encicio, Evan Ferguson. So that there's 5 players automatically there who could be whose futures look quite uncertain. So interesting one to keep an eye on. But yeah, you mentioned them earlier, Sam. Obviously, Jack Hinchelwood and James Beadle, they've performed pretty well, haven't they? Obviously, Hinchelwood shown his versatility again. He's been playing at left back for the Young Lions, and he did pretty well, didn't he? He's such a good player that Brighton have. He's been at Brighton since he was 8 years old. He's been through the academy, and he's had a great season, and he's just going to be a great player for Brighton, isn't he? For the next few seasons, for the next hopefully 10 years or so. It's brilliant.
No, 100%. He's real top quality and kind of the new Pascal Gross, really. He was the kind of a ready-made replacement when the German left, because he really could play pretty much anywhere on the pitch except for goalkeeper, really. And you could probably say the same for Hinchelwood. He just slots in wherever he's needed. Such a workhorse, and does all the kind of the hard yards, and just goes about his business really kind of effectively, and doesn't always get all the headlines, but he's always really kind of man to depend on. And obviously he had a great scoring run at the end of the season as well for Brighton. We know he's good in the air, and he's such a threat making those late runs into the box. I think he actually had a big headed chance for the under-21s, which I think it might have been against Spain.
He did.
I think he probably would have expected better from himself, because he, as we know, he's so good in the air. A quality player, and it's great to see him getting the opportunities for the England under-21s, and hopefully he'll start the final as well.
Where do you see him next season? As a midfielder, or do you think Herzl is just going to use him where needed?
It's a good problem to have, isn't it? I guess obviously it's a good problem to. Obviously in an ideal world, you probably have him in midfield, I would say. But then obviously if there's any injuries in defence, he's a perfect player to go pretty much anywhere in that defence, really. Obviously, particularly at fullback. So I think there's lots of kind of positions he can play in and have an impact, which is brilliant for any footballer, really, and it really puts him in good stead to make lots more appearances than you might do if you can only play one position.
That's it. Exactly that. And also a quick mention on James Beadle as well. How do you assess Brighton's goalkeeping situation? They've obviously got Bart Verbruggen, Cole Rushworth as well. James Beadle looks as though he's going to go out on loan to Birmingham for the season, but he looks a long-term successor maybe to Verbruggen if he ever did leave, didn't it? It looks as though Verbruggen's going to stay at Brighton for next season. There were links with him for Bayern Munich, but the talk seems to have quietened down a bit, and it looks as though Verbruggen will have another season at Brighton at least, and then maybe someone like Beadle could step in after if and when Verbruggen does leave.
Well, we've heard that obviously there's some, as you say, some kind of interest in Verbruggen. He's obviously attracting interest, being the number one Netherlands goalkeeper, and he's just getting better and better in a Brighton shirt. And obviously he had that season where he was rotating with Jason Still under De Zerbi, and then Herzl came in and was like, enough of that, we're having one first team goalkeeper. And Verbruggen,
I remember you spoke to Herzl about that, didn't you?
Yes, he was very quick to say he wasn't keen on that idea of having two goalkeepers rotating, which was it was a bizarre one from De Zerbi's tenure at the club. But I think Verbruggen's been done really well in the Brighton shirt. Obviously getting better and better, as I say, and had a really, really strong season. I remember him saying in his final interview with the media after the Spurs game, and he just said he's happy with how it's gone, but there's so much more he can do and so many more improvements he can make. I think his penalty saving record was one that was pointed out, something he could potentially improve. But I would not be surprised if some big clubs come in for Verbruggen. So having these young goalkeepers in Rushworth and Beadle is fantastic from a Brighton point of view, and to have those options and to see how how they're developing on kind of the loan spells or whatever happens, and to have that backup plan if Verbruggen was to leave is really great. And this experience that Vida was getting with England is great and bodes really well for the future.
Yeah, no, it will serve them in good stead. That's for sure. And he's always been impressed with Verbruggen. Like, even when he speaks in the interviews afterwards as well, he sounds like such a a solid character as well, doesn't he, to have at the club. So I think it'll be good if he has one more season. Vida will then have a very competitive year, hopefully on loan with Birmingham, who've got high ambitions themselves. So it's looking pretty good for Brighton in that respect. In terms of players who may be on the move, though, Sam, there's persistent talk with Igor Julio. Was a bit part player last season, has sustained the hamstring injury as well, didn't he? Last January, I think it was, against Arsenal in a 1-1 draw, and that kept him out for the rest of the season. And there's talk that he may be on his way to Real Sociedad. What do you think about that, and how would you assess his sort of time at Brighton so far?
No, it's a strange one, isn't it, with Igor? Because obviously he missed such a large part of the season for Brighton for injury, and he hasn't really kind of shown his best form in a Brighton shirt. There's been glimpses. He's had some real difficult matches as well. And you kind of felt that he needed a bit more time to settle, and the injury really came at a bad time, and he hasn't really had the opportunity to really show what he's all about in that sense. But reports do indicate that Real Sociedad have made significant progress in negotiations, with Igor himself expressing openness to the move. The transfer for the 27-year-old Brazilian is driven by Sociedad's need to bolster their defence, as West Ham's Nayef Aguerd is due to return to West Ham after a loan spell. So according to Spanish outlet AS, Sociedad and Igor have reached an understanding with almost everything agreed. And the newspaper said talks between the two clubs were underway and Brighton are open to a deal. Again, it's a shame if he does leave, because he struggles to establish himself from his £15 million move from Fiorentina. Made 49 appearances and is contracted until June 2027. I mean, if he does move on, we obviously wish him well, but if he does stay, I think there's definitely more we can offer.
Yeah. He's never really been a regular, has he? He's always sort of been just a little bit behind Webster, Dunk, then obviously Van Hecker as well. But when he has been called upon, he's sort of been fairly solid, hasn't he? So it's he seems to be a good squad player. But with the additions that Brighton have made this summer as well, with Diogo Coppola coming in as well in particular, I think that's Brighton have probably covered themselves in that area. Would you say?
No, I think so. I think it's definitely a position which Brighton have looked to strengthen in the summer. Because that's, as we know, it was a big problem last season with the injuries they had, Lewis Dunk being out of form, and I think it's definitely something which Brighton rightly have looked to address in the transfer window with the signings they've made so far, both experienced and with youth as well. So looking for the immediate solutions as well as the long-term ones. So I think that it does bode well. And Igor may be looking at the situation that if he's obviously got more competition than he already had, then he's probably looking for more minutes, first team minutes, and you can't really deny him that opportunity if it comes up for him. And if it's a good move for Brighton as well, if the fee's right, then it's good for all parties.
Yeah. They've got Oliver, is it Boskagli as well, coming in from a free transfer, isn't it, from PSV Eindhoven as well? I think he's 27 he's a similar sort of age, isn't he? They've got him on a free, and he's about 27 years of age. So like you say, they've covered themselves with the experience there as well. So they look as though they've got a player who's hopefully ready to go, although he hasn't played in the Premier League. But he's more experienced Champions League football as well. And then they've got Diego Coppola as well, who can sort of hopefully, progress. He looked really good, by the way, for Italy under 21s in the Euros. I saw a couple of his matches, and Brighton look as though they've got another good player on their hands there. So much to look out for. And just at fullback, Sam, Wesley Franca, he's Flamingo right back. He's been linked with a 20 million move to Brighton. I have to confess, I don't really know too much about Wesley Franca. But it just in general, Sam, do you think right back is an area they need to look at? They've obviously got Tariq Lamptey, who's signed a 1-year extension, and Joel Veltman as well.
Yes, it definitely is an area that they need to be looking at, because both Veltman and Lamptey have been known to have their injury problems, particularly Lamptey, who really struggles to put a run of games together. And Veltman's obviously getting to that stage of his career where he probably wouldn't be expected to start week in, week out. We've mentioned already about Hinshelwood standing in when needed, and obviously other players as well. I mean, Kadioglu as well obviously can start in at full back and midfield. So there's definitely options, but I think if they can go in for Wesley Franca from Flamengo, it's another promising one. As you say, I think Flamengo value him closer to 30 to 40 million following his standout performances at the Club World Cup. But he's known for his attacking flair and pace, which could see him fitting well into Hotspur's system. And Man City and Chelsea also believe to be keeping tabs on him. He has 2 Brazilian caps, and he said recently that he's ready to test himself in Europe. The Premier League is a dream for any player. And his agent, MCL Sports, recently added, Wesley's focus is on Flamengo until the Club World Cup ends, but we're open to discussions with clubs like Brighton. So that's an interesting one. He actually name-checked Brighton in a quote, which bodes well, I guess, if he's named Brighton in that quote, and maybe that Brighton are leading the chase for him. And we've mentioned a few times that these kind of signings, it's just typical Brighton, and the players will be looking at Brighton as the perfect place to go to develop their career and look to really break through into European football and in the Premier League.
Yeah, no, it's that's true. And if they get Harvey Elliott and Franca as well, that's another big transfer window for them, isn't it? They've already spent 70 million with the likes of the Greek teenagers Charalampos Kostoulas and Stefanos Tissamas. They've got Tommy Watson's joined, and then Coppola as well. So that'll be another sizable spend, won't it, for Brighton if they can get Harvey Elliott and Franca as well.
Yep, 100%. It's obviously a lot of the big money signings last summer weren't a complete success through injury or other reasons and all sorts of things. So a lot of those players will be like new signings this season, especially Kadioglu. It'll feel like a new signing when he comes back. I feel like if they've got more money in the bank to spend and to address those weaker areas in the team, and obviously considering any exes as well. Obviously, we know about João Pedro and Judo and Ciso potentially moving on. So you need to kind of replace those players, particularly Pedro. I think it's a good move to spend big. I think you need to keep up with the pack in today's market.
No, you're right. It's so competitive. If you stand still for one transfer window, you can really be left behind. But I agree with you. You mentioned Ferdi Kadioglu there a couple of times, and I'm really hoping he can stay injury free, because the glimpses I saw of him last season, watching him live, I just think he's got so much potential. He looks an absolute star if he can get a run of injury-free matches. And where he fits in the team, I'm not too sure. He can, like you say, he can play at fullback. He had some success on the right-hand side briefly before he got injured. So if he can recover from his injury, I think you're right. Brighton have an absolute, talent there that they haven't really seen the best of. So fingers crossed. 100%. Fingers crossed for him as well. But we're all over the transfer window, so keep an eye out on the Sussex World website for all the latest goings on at Brighton. But Sam, you're down at Devonshire Park. What's been happening there this week? We've had the likes of Emma Raducanu playing there this week. I saw Dan Evans. He had a great game, came through in 3 sets yesterday. He was quite emotional at the end of that one as well. But
he was.
What's been the highlights this week so far down at the tennis?
Yeah, no, it's been a really entertaining week. Obviously, we had the downgrade of the WTA women's event to 250, which there were some concerns about, kind of obviously the fewer ranking points and all sorts of things that could potentially affect the quality of players that will be coming down to Eastbourne. But it's been kind of unchanged. I think I've been speaking to players really, including Barbora Krukikova, who's basically said that it feels like a better event. The hospitality's improved, and Raducanu spoke of her kind of love for Eastbourne being a cute town. She did have a few complaints about the wind, both before and after her
Monday and
match.
Tuesday was really windy, wasn't it?
It was. Yeah, it was very windy. And João Fonseca as well who I've been really excited to watch, because he's such an exciting talent coming through the game, and to have him in Eastbourne's been brilliant as well. Obviously mentioned Dan Evans, superb win over Tommy Paul as well. It was really, really great to see, and he really brought the crowd to life, actually.
Yeah,
it was really, really great to see. I just love his enthusiasm. Kind of, he's always psyching himself up. He's calling himself Evo as he's going along, and trying to really kind of psych himself up. And yeah, it's a really good win. I mean, Tommy Paul's a quality player.
Yeah, he is. Yeah,
and obviously that was last night, and then that was followed by João Fonseca versus Taylor Fritz, which was arguably the biggest match of the schedule so far. It was obviously the defending champion in Fritz going up against the rising star in Fonseca, and that's due to continue today, actually, because both players won a set. Fonseca leveled it up, and it was too dark to carry on, so they're going to be continuing that one today. Unfortunately, Barbora Krukikova had to pull out with an injury, which is really sad news. She was due to start on centre court today, so that was obviously not going ahead. But Billy Harris is currently in action against Ugo Humber on court 1. And there's still plenty of top quality matches still to come, and it's been really entertaining week. Really enjoyed it.
Yeah, and you've been in with a couple of press conferences with Emma Raducanu. What's her vibe been like this week? She's said she's been managing an injury. I saw some quotes from her yesterday. Said she needs to get her head back in the game ahead of Wimbledon as well. It's been a mixed sort of tournament for her, hasn't it? In a couple of respects.
Yeah, she's also been managing that back injury that meant she missed the Berlin Open. There are a few concerns about that coming into the tournament, and we spoke to her at a round table before her opening match, and she was just saying that she's just managing it and doing as best as she can, and she feels okay. Yeah, and she was obviously, as I say, trying to manage those windy conditions as we've mentioned, and just trying to get the best out of herself, try and play the best tennis she can. Obviously, she did really well here last year, winning as a top 10 player for the first time in Jessica Pegula. And it's a shame that Raducanu was knocked out a bit earlier this year against Maya Joint, and she won the first set, Raducanu, but then she lost the second one 6-1, and she went 5-2 down in the decider, and you felt like it was all slipping away really quickly. And to be fair to her, she brought it back to 5-all, then got broken again for 6-5, and then broke back once again to take it to tiebreak. It was crazy scenes on centre court yesterday for that one, and really unfortunately she did lose out in the end and is out of Eastbourne heading to Wimbledon. It'd be interesting to see kind of how ready she is fitness wise, and kind of how her body's holding up, because I know the back's probably a difficult one to heal quickly. So she didn't give too much away about the nature of the injury and how it's affecting her. But fingers crossed she'll be fit and firing for Wimbledon.
Yeah, it was a really competitive match, wasn't it? Parts of that third set was really sort of big hitting, and I was very, very impressed with Maya Joint as well. It's the first time I've ever seen her play, and she's got a really solid game, hasn't she? She's checking her rise, and from she's 18, 19, and she's really
19,
risen up the rankings to the top 50, and I think she's going to be one to watch, isn't she, in the next year or so?
100%, yeah. No, she really was impressive, and obviously there was that bit of a wobble where she obviously failed to serve for the match on 3 occasions, but then to win the match anyway just shows the resilience, and it's just kind of the fighting spirit that she's got to keep going and to not let those missed opportunities affect her, really. So that was really impressive, and it was nice to hear from Emma in the press conference as well. Actually, just praise Maya for the performance, and she said she'll be rooting for her for the rest of the competition.
She wants her to win, doesn't she? Yeah. No, she'll be one to watch, and I think if she does, from the performance that she produced against Raducanu, I think she could could go all the way, especially now that, you know, with the withdrawal from the injury as
100%.
well.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, well, thanks for going through that, Sam. Enjoy the today's play, and we'll be keeping an eye on the Sussex World website for all the updates from the Eastbourne tournament as well. So thanks very much for joining us, Sam.
Thanks, Derren.